Okay, listen. We have a lot of questions that nobody has asked up until now. Why am I not streaming on a Thursday? Listen, we don't need to know that. Why am I wearing a shirt in this video? We don't need to know that. Why am I wearing headphones when I actually have no audio coming through my headphones? That's a good idea. We should probably take them out. Anyway, enough of being stupid. We're going to share our screen and we're actually going to get to the crux of the video, which, as from the title, you can see it's how a blog post got me to contribute to Grafana's K6. And honestly, it should also be how this blog post gave me the confidence to even think about contributing to something like K6, right? So let me just show the blog post in context, which is by Mitchell Hashimoto, contributing to complex projects. This was written back in 2022. It's 2026 right now. That's like a little over 4 years, right? And just to give general context of why I'm making this video is because I never thought I would contribute to K6. I never thought I would even think of contributing to K6. But I've had this feeling of, hey, I want to contribute to the things that I'm working with, and which happens to be the step one in this article, by the way, or blog, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, which really kind of made things easier because I've been working with K6 for the a little over 6 months. I think 8 months, or no, not even 8 months. Yeah, approx 8 months or something at work. We're making this thing, but I don't know how much I can talk about it. But I've been working with K6 in that thing, right? So step one of becoming a user, that's like kind of done. But anyway, that's like getting into the specifics. Coming back, I thought about like making better contributions and also contributing to things that I'm using in my daily workflows, right? And there's a lot of open source tools that I'm using just for myself, I'm using at work, and I would really like to contribute to that just for the love of the game, to be honest. I want to understand how they work. I want to, just derive patterns that they're using because tomorrow, if I get to work on something new, I can be like, hey, this is the problem. I've seen this similar thing in this repository. I can actually apply it here. And it just feels nice. I think it's open source is one of those things which is like, hey, I get to learn something completely new while you also get the benefit of my interest and my curiosity and my effort of making your thing better. So, like I said, for the love of the game. And this was also my first PR to a dev tool that we use just like extensively. So I'm not going to go through the blog post because I think firstly you should go through this yourself, which is amazing, by the way. I love Mitchell Hashimoto, just everything, right? But I will go through this table of contents, like at least just for the first 3 points, which is become a user. So this is what I've been doing at work for the past 8 months. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of how in general K6 works, right? There's virtual user, you spin up, you write your options, you write scenarios, you write suites, and then like you run your test, you get the result, can view them in HTML, Grafana, whatever you want. So become a user, that was like done already. So I had a general concept of how K6 works. Now, step two, where you build the project, which is actually like getting into the code of like, by the way, K6, I do think I have it here. OSS K6. This is the branch actually. Okay. So apparently K6 uses Makefile. I think I should have it here. So go build, there you go. Makefile, you build your project, pretty simple. That was step two. And step three, which is, again, this also kind of gets in depth, which I'm not going to go over right now. But this is kind of what helped me also make this PR in the first place. And the PR in question, now let's get into that. This is the issue of the PR, which is move SOBEC options parsing, SOBEC option parsing to the mapping layer. What is SOBEC? SOBEC is basically a forked engine that Grafana forked from something called Gojek, if I remember correctly, which is a JavaScript engine in Golang. I think it's called Gojek or something like that. So now I've gone into the issue. You want to move SOBEC option parsing to the mapping layer. Now, honestly, I don't really understand this end to end, but for the PR I made, that kind of gave me context on what needs to be done. And also, these PRs over here really help. The issue is still open because there's a list of things to be done, and this is what I picked and made a PR for. If you go into the issue over here, I believe this is open to do, so I've opened a PR for the same. If you go into the PR, which honestly I have it open here also, this. If I go into the files change, it's not a very fancy PR. It's a very simple one. It's like a small refactor that's there where one method that was doing something, we just had to put it from one file into another file, write a test for it. If it works, that's it. So it's not a complex PR, which is also something that he talks about, right? Where it's not like you have to make the first PR so fancy. You need to start small. You need to, like take a small target, hit that, and then start expanding your, knowledge domain or whatever you want to call it. So this is what I did. I was like, okay, this is a small refactor. People have done it before. I can see the patterns that they've implemented and I can implement it for this thing. It also helped me understand just like the code base in general, just more about it. And there's also another feature, like at least it was triage, I don't know how you labeled. Okay. It was labeled as a feature about, and that's like a separate thing. But point is, if that also is something that they want to implement, I did comment if I could take it up. That's something different. Coming back to this, as you can see, I'll show you what like I removed first, which is this part. You can see there's a parse method on the page screenshot options that we have over here. Struct, what you want to call it. This whole thing is the same logic which has been implemented over here. This is the test file, right? Yeah, here you go. And I put this under a function which I'm using over here. So now instead of doing all this, I can just directly do it here, which is in the same file over here. With same logic. Everything is same. It's just moving that logic from one file to another. And I've written a small little test for it. This was pretty fun because over here you're essentially giving it the object and asserting that, hey, this is the input and this is what I want from the input. So you're giving it a string, and this is what like K6 probably does. You're getting a JSON string, it's parsing it accordingly, and this is getting the output of that. So I wrote a test for this. There, I think, yeah, this is a small function that I added. This is what I'm using in that file. So it's a pretty simple PR. It's not anything fancy. And I think this was a good start because I would like to contribute more into K6 and just in general dev tools I'm using. So the fact that I went from a blog post, I read about it, I could actually got lucky enough to find this issue on Grafana, which let's go back over here. Yeah, this issue I found luckily, which is still open. So I think I'll probably shoot my shot at another one of these things. But the fact that this is a start and the fact that it got merged, and also by the way, I'm kind of proud of it, even though it's a very small thing, it's a very stupid thing to be proud of. No comments. First try. We actually made a PR to K6 on first try. I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, so this whole thing of like, hey, I read this blog post, I actually went through K6's issues, and honestly, this was the most time-consuming part, finding the issue which I can be like, okay, this is something I can hit. And I tried a lot of things, honestly. I tried with frame options first. I was a bit confused by that. I tried with locator options. That was also very like, okay, how do I do this? Then I also did element handle base options, but then this had a lot of things built on top, which I thought I also had to move that because all of them depend on this. And if I move this, then this won't have like a thing to work on. So I tried that, but that didn't work. Then I finally came to this option because I believe this one was being taken by someone else. So this was free, and I was like, hey, I see this is free. I opened up PR for this. Can you please check this? And yeah, that's how it went. So it was not like first try and everything. There was a lot of head pulling or hair pulling, whatever you want to call it. That was done. So finally, I do understand the K6 code base a bit better now. And speaking of issues, let's see. I'm not sure about this because I think it's still yet to be done. I think it's this one. Yeah, allow specifying logs time limit. I have commented on this, so it also seemed like something pretty interesting to have as a feature in general in K6, right? I would like to use this. You know what I mean? Because we are taking the JSON logs and we're storing it in the artifacts when we're doing our pipeline run. But let's see. I did go through the code base for this a bit, and I do have like somewhat of a rough idea. But again, like there is no expectations over here, which I think is a key thing of open source, where you don't have expectations of, okay, just because I've commented on this, I earn this, right? It should not be that. And anyway, this is kind of going off topic, but there was the whole point. Blog post, open PR, it got merged, and it did take a bit of time to merge it. If you see, I did open this 3 weeks ago, which I think is fine. Grafana is a big company. It's got a lot of people. They've got a lot of issues on like a lot of different things. And I was expecting it to be done in 2 weeks or so. That was my initial like expectation. And it got done in 3 weeks. And the fact that just on an afternoon, random work afternoon, I get a notification that my PR has been merged. Hey, I think it's a win. I think it's a pretty decent win, honestly. So anyway, I'm excited to contribute more to K6 hopefully, and just other dev tools in general. I will be making videos on that probably if another one gets approved. I don't know, which hopefully will be a bigger or more better PR than just a small refactor. So anyway, we're going to see how it goes, and that's kind of just what I wanted to talk about. Now, almost 10 minutes. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, that's also probably why I'm not streaming, because I do have like some work to do. And yeah, I think I'll stream on the weekend and just updates on Pipecast. Anyway, I'll give that all on stream. I'll keep this video short to just this thing, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, I guess. Bye.